It is October 2020 and officially we can start celebrating Libraries Week! Oh! What is the theme for this year, you ask? It is, drum roll please, reading! Library staff across the country are sharing with you their passion for reading alongside some recommendations of books that completely captivated them during the lockdown so far this year. My name's Lou, and if someone was to ask me right here, right now, please pick out one book that has a powerful impact on you still to this day, I would say it is Roald Dahl's Matilda, because that book is the very reason that I became obsessed with visiting my local library, which was Hounslow Library when I was growing up. Roald Dahl's magical words, the warmth of Matilda and her courage and just her vast intelligence blew me away as a very young girl. Even better, Mum got me the video of the film and I had my very own trolley, so there I was like a little mini Matilda, pulling all my books home from Hounslow Library, watching them slide and turn over in the basket and fearful of them falling out into the puddle because I knew Mum would not be happy about that. And I just couldn't wait to get home to be with my family and to become lost in the gripping chapters, in the fantastic fun and the unknown of each new page as you turned it over. Also, a pretty badass collection of bookmarks, so that is the way forward, guys. I think reading is such a fundamental part of my identity, and as many other bookworms would agree, it's a core part of their soul. I have many different reasons for choosing books. I, throughout lockdown, have been converted to the ebook and the audiobook side. I do love those materials, particularly if you have a very expressive and I suppose diverse narrator for the e-audiobooks. Their accent is so key for setting the tone of the scene and making it really believable that you're in the country that the novel is taking place in. So I have been converted, but I must confess, I absolutely love the feeling of a good old book in your hand, something which I truly missed when our libraries were closed during lockdown. I will choose a book for many reasons. Surprisingly, I will not choose a book if it's won an award. I do not want to read a book that many people are raging about and raving rather, or raging depending on how good or bad it is. I would rather choose a lesser known author and get more of an insight into their writing style and even their own history, and then I may choose a book that is quite up there on the awards medal collection. So when I choose a book, I do tend to go into charity shops, and in our library branches I will choose a book that has a very gripping cover. I do love a striking illustration. I feel it already gives you an insight into maybe through the eyes, like the emotional depth of the character or their calculating mind, or if there's a lot of different hues, it gives you helps you to picture the setting for the book quite early on. So I must admit, guilty for choosing a book by its cover. Equally, I will choose a book that may be very worn, or maybe the pages will be a bit yellow at the top, and I'll just be like, this book obviously has meant a lot to a lot of people. I think I'm going to give this a go. But equally, I do love choosing a brand new book, a brand new hardback in the shop, and then like, oh, I'm the first person that's going to read this. So there's many different reasons why I choose a book. I love being recommended many unusual titles or different authors. That's the great thing about reading, you're always learning something new every day from the topics discussed or from the approach to writing by each individual. I think reading is such a fundamental part of your development, and during lockdown, with so much happening in the world, I was actually looking for escapism, and being at home all the time, I desperately wanted to travel. So this is why I chose XYZ book as well, which are here written down, some books I would love to share with you today. So get your pens and papers ready, because here we go with some very enchanting stories. I am a huge fiction fan and even read fan fiction online if a story has left a really huge impact on me. But I began lockdown by reading an adult non-fiction story. It is titled The Amazing Story of the Man Who Cycled from India to Europe for Love, and it's by Per J. Anderson, and it is a translated copy. This book is has been translated into German, French, English, Swedish, even Chinese, and is a huge global success. I actually was enchanted by the cover of this book when shelving it in our Kingston Library, and I was shelving it in the art section, and as an artist I was like, wow, what is the association here? And of course I borrowed it. So this book tells the remarkable real life inspiring a love story of PK and Lotta. PK is from India, Lotta is from Sweden, and here they are meeting in the 70s one fateful night as PK is about to finish doing portraits for the evening, and the descriptions are so vivid of the street lamp and exactly how bits of dirt and light was shining through the lamp as PK was working into the evening. And then Lotta appears and comes towards him, and he just is like, wow, enchanted, amazed by the beauty of this woman and her modesty. And PK is requested to sketch out Lotta's portrait, but he can't stop shaking. And when you are reading these honest, raw feelings, you are reminded of an experience you may have had with someone that you were completely infatuated with. So it just gets your heart racing, and you're like, where is this going to lead? What is the significance? Where is this going? Because I know obviously what the title says, and I am quite far into this book and this meeting hasn't happened, so this is key. So it's very, very exciting to watch their relationship develop quite quickly, and the way how across the world, even though they're geographically separated by miles, their life has been leading to this interaction and this moment. So it's wonderful, because PK, when he was born, there was a prophecy that he would marry a woman who was under the star sign of Taurus, and she would own like a forest. So you're like, whoa, this is great. Who is this lady? And actually Lotta in Sweden, her family own a woods, and her whole life she's been fascinated by very rich cultures, and especially Indian culture. And it's just really comforting as you are observing PK's growth from childhood into a man, that you are relieved that there's actually going to be something very positive happening to him, because he's an artist who is not struggling with his skills, because he's extraordinarily talented, but he's struggling financially, and he's also very sadly a victim of the caste system. And growing up, he wasn't allowed to sit in the school. He was made to sit outside because he would destroy, impurify everything around him, and if people accidentally touched him, they bathe. And I can't even imagine how demoralising that must feel. You are born in your skin as you are, and you can't change that. And I just was shocked at how the priests of the community where he grew up on the edge of the village near the forest, how they would treat people, and they're meant to be holy people, but the love that PK has for his mother and her genuine support of his artwork, and her faith in him, and her firm belief that he is going to make it and achieve his dreams, it just really resonates with you, it's something that you definitely needed to read during lockdown, especially as so much was unknown. I found it very uplifting to see that strong relationship, and then see how PK later treated Lotta because of his mother's influence of like how a relationship, a dynamic between a man and a woman should be. PK is incredible. I have watched many YouTube videos about his and Lotta's love story, and he said when he made the decision of cycling to across all these war terrains and deserts and dangerous cities and meeting such inspiring and sometimes scary individuals, he made his decision. He's like, I didn't actually know how far Sweden was from India, and if I'd known, maybe I wouldn't be here today, because throughout my tiring cycle I knew that if I wanted to be with the woman that I'd married and I hadn't seen for over a year, I would just have to keep cycling and just follow the sun, because I knew my wife, the love of my life, would be this way, and it's either cycle or die. So it's a remarkable story. I'd recommend you read it. A very inspiring book. So it is available as well as an ebook. So I hope you enjoy it either as a physical copy or as an ebook. So, remarkable non-fiction tale to lift the spirits when all might be a bit bleak. I then delved into a fictional story by James Patterson. James Patterson is a world-renowned, celebrated author who writes many gripping thrillers and detective novels. They are not my cup of tea, however, I have read one of his previous stories across 2 time periods about love, titled Sam's Letters to Jennifer. So I was very willing to give his writing style in a romantic sense another go. So this book was titled Sundays at Tiffany's, and it's by James Patterson as well as Gabrielle Charbonnet, and I actually enjoyed buying this book in our book sale in Hook Library. So I hurried home and had my cup of tea and was like, oh, bargain, I'm going to absorb into this story. And it was brilliant because I'm a huge Tiffany & Co fan, and I was like, oh, where is this feature? We are introduced to a young girl called Jane. So Jane has a mother who's a very strong-willed, powerful woman, independent. Her name's Vivian, and it's quite hard to imagine her having any maternal instincts or just capacity of showing much affection to a child. So Jane actually finds comfort in an imaginary friend called Michael, who is over 30. So immediately you're hit like, oh, this is an imaginary friend. He's a lot older than the child, and here he is in every moment of her life as she's getting ready for school, and he'll wait for her in her bedroom, and you're already a little bit challenged, like, oh, I don't know where this is going. But there will reach a point once a child reaches a certain age and a level of maturity, their imaginary friend must disappear, and this is apparently a rite of passage. I don't think I could cope with that, but Jane doesn't, and the impact of losing Michael, just as she's trying to cope with her dad and his new girlfriend arriving to her party only for minutes, just so it's appearances, to have that sudden double loss was a lot for her to take. We are then introduced to Jane as she's a lot older, and she's managed to write a stage play about her story with Michael and her boyfriend. He is playing Michael, and he's very vain, and it's just as far-fetched from the Michael we've been introduced to as possible, but it's her mother's choice. So yeah, a bit of a theme here that mum says goes. Fortunately, somehow Michael is visible as a man in his 30s, frozen in time at that age, to a grown-up Jane. Their meeting just floors you. You are completely absorbed. You're turning the pages really quickly. What's going to happen? Is the chemistry going to be there? Will Jane recognise Michael? How is Michael recognising Jane? She's obviously grown into this beautiful woman, but who is very sidelined and lets other people kind of take the lead. But yet to Michael, Jane has always been number one. He's never forgotten her. But it's very amusing to see him realise, like, oh, I'm still here. You can see me. How is this happening? What is the purpose of this fateful turning of events? It's a book that is a picker-upper in the sense that you will just keep picking it up again and again. And I would tell you that you could possibly finish it if you weren't doing work. You could finish it probably in 2 and a bit, 3 days. It's a really easy read. Does challenge your emotions. There's a plot twist, and you are just, you finish a story a changed person. You're thinking, wow, can you imagine if someone meant that much to me as an imaginary friend, and then I was reintroduced to them at the age I am now? How exciting would that be? So it does stay with you and leaves like sort of an airy, creative thoughts afterwards. So I would really recommend it. Brings me on to a complete contrasting book, which is Stranger by Karen David. It's a teen fiction novel, and it was published in 2019. I would love to see this book as a film, which I must add that the previous book of Sunday at Tiffany's is already out there as a film from 2010. Super different to the book, so read the book first. But this book, Stranger by Karen David, is based in Ontario in Canada between a 100-year period, 1904 and 1994, and 90-year period. There is my maths. It's a book that the synopsis just reels you in, because it describes how a naked man stumbles out of a forest, approaches a schoolgirl called Emmy. This young naked man, he's about the same age. He's very toned, very muscular, but he's brutally injured, and he has a gun. So you're like, whoa, this is heavy stuff. And then suddenly you're given an insight to Emmy's, I guess, great-granddaughter. She's her name's Megan. She's flying over from London to celebrate Emmy's birthday, and their lives are intertwined, and you're led to believe that their meeting right now is going to reveal a very big secret. But what is great about Karen's writing is that it's not a predictable turn of events, and you just don't know what's going to happen with each chapter because of the different chapter lengths and the different viewpoints and opinions of the two women. Tom is actually given this name, who came out of the woods, and it's very eye-opening to see people's treatment of a stranger, and you would think someone who's injured and very mysterious, you'd give them a bit of a warm and charitable welcome to the community, but it's definitely not the case. Unfortunately, Emmy's mother is a very independent and vastly experienced and intelligent doctor. She makes the decision that Tom is going to be living with her, Emmy, and their housekeeper, and it just challenges what your thoughts are about people at that time, their judgment of others, how much does the church influence their opinions, or is it just an ingrained historic distrust of others who aren't like all married to each other in the community or grew up together. And then you do struggle a little bit to Megan's got secrets. You struggle to get an emotional attachment to her from the beginning, because you can tell she's been very guarded, and you're just not sure of the reason for her, the way she blocks people out. But again, she's the new shiny thing in Canada, and she's already capturing people's attention. So it's two very different women. We've got Emmy, who is determined to make a difference, accepts people for who they are, and wants to create positive thoughts and change. And then we've got Megan, who's very self-consumed and mourning a decision and potentially regretting one. That's what you're shown, and you just struggle to see how similar these women are. So it's a very good book. I would recommend you reading it on a dark evening. Allow the beautiful imagery of the forest and the suspense that is built up to reel you in, and enjoy every moment of it, because it's a book that after all these months still it inspires me to passionately discuss it. And I would definitely recommend Karen David again. Finally, a book that I probably shouldn't have chosen because it made me cry, but I was determined to tick off another category of my adult reading challenge, was Dear John by Nicholas Sparks. So growing up, I always heard this quote that if you truly love someone, you know, you'll let them go, or their happiness is more important than your own. And here we are with this book literally personifying that statement. And it was a book that I was determined to read because I have seen the film with Channing Tatum in it, and it was in 2010, and I was very vague about what I remembered about the film, but I remember being a bit frustrated by the ending, so I was very keen to become lost in the very easy writing style of Nicholas Sparks, and to see if the book would be vastly different to the portrayal in the movie. Because, for example, Nicholas Sparks has written The Notebook. I find that the film and the book are hugely different, with the amount of time that is focused on in the youth and the adulthood side of Ali and Noah. So I was like, oh, what's going to happen here with John and Savannah? So I'm really pleased I read the story. I'd recommend you reading it as well. It takes place with you given an insight into John, who's got quite a tested relationship with his father. There's not a lot of bonding there. His dad's got which we find later on, you've got Asperger's. So the ability to create that emotional connection outside of any change to routine, it's very eye-opening, and I found it very humbling to get more of an insight into this remarkable man who is John's dad. We have John, who makes bad decisions because there's not really much correction, and he wants to establish a new direction in life and a future by joining the army. So he's actually on leave from furlough from his post, and he returns home to North Carolina and has a fateful meeting with Savannah, who is the polar opposite. She's a goody-goody two-shoes. She does everything right by her parents. She has clear goals, expectations in life, and is making the tick box steps to getting there. There isn't any other alternative. There's this young woman who's here at the beach helping to build homes for those who are vulnerable, and her goal is to set up a riding school for children with autism. So you are very endeared by her, and you would love to learn more about like her story, and you're giving a beautiful insight into her relationship with her best friend Tim and his brother who's got autism, and how that has from a young age influenced her decisions about what she studied and what she did with her time with volunteering. And you do wonder, like, how do these two opposites attract? But there is such a raw beauty to their chemistry, and it gives you butterflies, because you're like, I completely know that feeling when you look at someone and you're just amazed that they would be interested in you and they want to spend time with you, and you like them as much as they like you, and there's that build up to the kiss, and it's all great. It's definitely a pick me up medicine of an evening time if you've had a long day, to read their developing relationship over 2 weeks, and you get the whole excitement of Savannah meeting John's dad and her closeness with him straight away. It's beautiful. However, sadly 9/11 happens and it changes the direction of their love and their whole lives as John re-enrolls with the army. I'm not going to give too much away about what happens to their love. I want you to discover that for yourself, but I wish I could shake John's hand to say thank you for his service, and especially for his selfless and hugely compassionate and thoughtful gesture at the end of the book. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it will leave you in floods of tears. I had to run to the bathroom, get a big bundle of Lura. I just couldn't stop crying, and it's moments like this that you're grateful you have the escapism of books, that you can maybe have that release of like, oh, lockdown, bruh. So why don't you read some of these great authors? I would not find enough stars to rate them highly enough, but I would definitely recommend you trying a new author. Yes, continue to borrow books and buy books that have won medals, but choose something that is maybe catching your eye on a shelf, that you're like, what secrets do you hold? Thank you so much for watching. I would love to learn more about what you like to read and what influences your book choices, and I hope that you have a lovely day and enjoy celebrating Libraries Week with all your fellow librarians and bookworms. Thank you. Bye.